There are a lot of ways to cut metal, but choosing the wrong one could cost you money, quality, and time. Let's break it down. I'm Jeremy with I Machine Services. I've been servicing bandsaws for over 20 years. Okay, I would like to ask you guys to comment below if you have any video ideas. So we're going to talk about different ways to cut metal, okay, and why which one matters. Okay, I'm a very big component of having the right tool for the right job, whether it comes to fixing equipment, which is what I do, or if it comes to the equipment that we're talking about, it's about having the right tool for the right job. Okay, I will definitely be coming to this from a bandsaw slant because this is my expertise and this is what matters to me. But I will not try to be too opinionated on these other ones or anything like that. Okay. But what we have is we have a lot of different ways to cut material. We have a lot of people that are cutting material in the wrong way. So we're going to go over that. So we're just going to start with the top of the list. We've got the hacksaw. I've only seen a hacksaw, a machine hacksaw that I can remember one time. I don't even know if it was working, but that's literally just, it goes up and down and it cuts whatever it's doing. And like I said in a previous video, about 50% of the time is wasted because it's going in the wrong direction, okay, because it's a hacksaw. I have reciprocating, just kind of illustrate, the teeth only go one direction, okay? So as it goes up, nothing happens, and then when it comes down, it cuts. Nothing happens, cuts. So half the time is wasted, okay? You may be using a reciprocating saw, okay? You might be using, I'm gonna lump that in with hacksaw, as well as a grinder with a cutoff wheel or even just a grinding wheel. You're gonna be doing stuff manually by hand, okay? It is inefficient. It is sometimes what you have to do because of the size of your shop or the tools that you have available, okay? I got a lot of my fabrication shops. They use torches to cut their material. They'll be cutting their channel, their I-beam, different things like that with torches. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of them are very good at that. Okay, but when it comes to production where you need to be turning out more and more material, that's where we're going to move to some of this other stuff because it gets you where you need to go faster. You're not going to be wasting your guy who has expertise as a fabricator and a welder cutting stuff. You don't necessarily want him spending time doing that. Now, there's other stuff where you got to notch something to specially fit it. Okay, that's a different story. Okay, we have things like plasma. The torch and the plasma, they can be handheld and they can also be on burn tables. Okay, burn tables are going to be more along the lines of plate. And again, that's something that there are actually plate bandsaws. They're not as common, but there are plate bandsaws if you got to cut strips. Okay, but when it comes to this kind of stuff, cutting stuff out of plate, like little pieces that are going to be used in another process, those are very good for that. And again, most of your bandsaws cannot compete. We do not have industrial scroll saws like you can think of like on a hobby level. Those are not common or readily available at all, okay? But you can use them for hand cutting. Generally, a solid piece of material that has no holes in it, okay, is going to be very difficult or take a long time to cut with plasma or a torch. And it's not going to be practical. If you're cutting tubing, I-beam, channel, angle, flat bar, this here can be a quick alternative. Plasma is going to be a cleaner cut. Torch, most people have access to that when it comes to welders. So again, those are easy things to do. They're also easy things to do while you're physically fitting pieces together. You might have a beam up and you got to get this notch out and you just bring the little plasma or the torch, you take the little notch out, you get it to fit, weld it up, you're good to go. Okay. But again, this is going to be more customization and a lot slower. You're going to one guy can cut one thing at one time. Okay. And he can't be doing something else that he might be better at. Okay. Now we're getting to our cold saw, our chop saw, and our bandsaw. Okay, a cold saw is basically a saw. It's going to be the circular style saw. They call them cold saws. Those are very good at what they cut, but they have a very small size that they can cut. So usually those blades are going to be thicker than a bandsaw, okay, which means you can push harder, okay. On a bandsaw, you have the width of the blade, which is this section here. Okay, not quite including the teeth, just under that. This one looks like a 1 inch or 1 1/4 inch blade. I want to say 1 1/4 inch blade. Okay, if I had a 2-inch blade, you could push a lot harder with a 2-inch blade bandsaw than you can a 1 1/4. That's one of the reasons you go with a bigger size blade / bigger size saw, because he will be able to push harder on cuts, i.e. you can cut bigger material faster. Okay. A circular saw usually has a much thicker area, so he can push a lot harder. So if you're cutting the same thing all day, every day, no variation. Let's say you're a bolt company and all you cut is all thread or round bars to make bolts with, and that's all you do. And you cut one side. Let's say you cut 3-inch bolts, or diameter, or let's say 1-inch bolts. A circular saw will beat a bandsaw or a chop saw all day. Okay, you'll be able to put out so much material, it'll be ridiculous. But you have to have the throughput that you need that. Okay, if you're a ones and twosy guy, it doesn't matter that a circular saw can cut or a cold saw can cut it faster. You don't need that production. Also, you're going to have a much smaller size of material that you can cut on a circular saw. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind, let me draw this out real quick, is you have your circular saw. Okay, these are your teeth. Boop, 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 boop. Look beautiful. Okay, but you're holding him with the center shaft, which means this is your capacity right here. Okay, unless you're going to do a strip cut like you do like on like let's say with wood cutting, like on a piece of plywood. Okay, you cannot generally cut larger than 50% because of this center arbor hole. Okay, you will not be able to cut much bigger than that. So that's something that's always going to limit you. It's going to be the same idea with the chop saw. It's going to have limitations with that. Okay, the difference on the chop saw, that's where you have an abrasive bit, almost like you have on a grinder head. Also, most people that are in the metal, they've cut stuff with the grinder. So that guy, that's generally one of the cheapest ways. If you're cutting metal in your garage, a lot of times you'll go buy a $200 chop saw from one of the hardware stores. You'll get yourself one of those discs, 14, 12-inch discs, and now you can cut, a little channel and you can work in your garage. Okay. And I do have shops, fabricating shops, stuff like that, use chop saws. The problem is they're very loud. They produce a lot of sparks, a lot of dirt and different things like that. And the act of cutting wears out, like it removes material from your cutting disc. Okay, so you're gonna have to replace cutting disc all the time. Okay, the chop saw and the cold saw will usually have a bigger kerf. Okay, the kerf is the material. Okay, so if I have this piece of material and I'm gonna cut it, okay, the material that is missing, this guy right here, okay, that's your kerf. That's how much material went away, okay, because I made a cut. So if I have a 2-inch piece and I make a cut and I've got 2 1-inch pieces, I technically don't have 2 1-inch pieces. I would have something missing. So let's say it's 10 thousandths of an inch. Let's say it's a half an inch, okay? Well, if it takes a 1/4 inch or half an inch per cut, you're gonna have to factor that when you're cutting from a very finite amount of material. Okay, so that's all stuff to factor in. You're gonna have bigger kerf on a chop saw and a cold saw. Okay, bandsaw. One of the reasons a bandsaw is generally it's the most economical way to cut larger material. You also have a bigger range. Okay, without knowing the true numbers, this guy will usually have 75 to 100% bigger ability. So if this guy, let's say there's a 10-inch blade, he can cut approximately 5 inches. If I had a similar priced horsepower motor saw, bandsaw, I could probably cut 10 to 12 inches with that same saw. Okay. So again, he will not be able to cut as fast, but he'll have a bigger range. Okay. And he'll be able to cut a more variety. So he'll be more versatile in that sense. Okay. So that's why a bandsaw is usually going to be better than a chop saw or a cold saw. I do have a shop that I've been into that had a a chop saw, and we're talking a gigantic chop saw that the guy has to hang off the end to cut, and they're cutting stainless steel, 12-inch diameter stainless steel, and they got these gigantic chop saws, and they do it and they love it. And they also have bandsaws. So again, to each their own. Some people they like to go a different direction. Okay. Now we start getting into some higher end stuff, lasers similar to plasma and torches. A lot of times this is going to be with a more complicated machine. Okay, it's very specific. So let's say you have a tube cutting laser or maybe a plasma. He's going to do little notches, different things like that. He will kind of add a second or third step to the process, which will then be better than these other steps. The problem with that is if you do not have enough throughput, you cannot necessarily justify hundreds of thousands of potentially millions of dollars for a machine that can do all that different kind of things. Okay. Or you may be using a laser again as a cutting plate, something like that, which again is going to be different than some of these others. So that's why you're going to use a laser. If you have a particular piece with a lot of complicated geometry on it, instead of throwing him in 5 different machines to do all this stuff, if you can buy a really expensive machine that does all of it, that might be the direction to go. But again, you have to have enough pieces to justify that. Okay. A water jet, again, this is going to be more like on a bed with a bed of water, and you're going to shoot into that. Where he's going to compete is with the laser, the plasma, and the torch on the tables. Those guys usually have, they're not going to be dealing with the heat in the same way. Their precision is incredible. Again, he's going to kind of a different animal. I do not know of ways where they turn those on their side and cut stuff this way in any way. And again, I also don't know of any water jets that you put something in, cut it, put something in, cut it like you do with a saw. Then we have stuff like shears and iron workers. Okay, these are going to be superior when you're cutting thinner piece plate or flat stock, or thinner piece like angles and stuff. I have seen them use angles, but usually with like flat. So flat's basically, a shear is just going to literally cut like scissors. It's gonna shear it. That's why it's called a shear. And if you've got a lot of pieces to cut and you've got a known dimension and it's just like square or rectangles you're making, a lot of times shears can be good. But again, they do have automations with these, but a lot of times you have to be fed by hand. Your band saws and your cold saws you can set up to be a production run, so they're going to be superior in that way. And also a bandsaw can cut other things as well as a cold saw and a chop saw. They can cut other things like a square tube. You cannot necessarily put a shear in a square tube. Maybe an iron worker has special fittings, but again, they have other things they can do. And then the last one I put on here is CNC machines. What I see a lot of times is they'll do step 1, and then they might clean up the face with the machine, or actually, and I have some places they'll do the cutting with the CNC machine, and kind of try to bypass using another process. The problem with that is on the CNC machines, their dollar amount per hour is so high that it's not economical. And if they were doing it more wise, or if they knew their numbers, they would know that it's not worth to spend time doing that. A cold saw, number 1, and then number 2, a bandsaw. If you can get that nice straight cut, a lot of times if that cut is good enough, you don't necessarily have to face it. Okay, or grind it flat or something like, which I've seen people do that. A problem is a lot of people, they will buy a bandsaw thinking that they do not have to machine that face, and there will be residual from the bandsaw. So you might have to face it if you want that really smooth, clean machine-like look. That's really hard to do. Now, there are ways to get that with the bandsaw. We'll discuss that in other videos. But again, just knowing what you need. A lot of times people will buy one of these machines thinking it do everything. And again, it's really about having the right tool for the right job. And that's very important, whether it's a bandsaw or anything else. If this was helpful, please hit like and subscribe. More bandsaw content is coming. Drop a comment. What type of saw are you running? What kind of shop you're in, as well as what kind of material you're cutting. If you're in the Gulf Coast region and need your bandsaw service, please give us a call or shoot us an email. I Machine Services in Houston, Texas. We travel where you need us. Links are below. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.